Alright folks, buckle up because today we're diving deep into everything new we know about HBO's Harry Potter series. Book-accurate leaks in Hoddesdon, a £4 million Hogwarts Express set built in Prince William's backyard. Emma Watson surprising fans with her words about J.K. Rowling, plus Voldemort rumors heating up. This reboot is shaping up to be way bigger than we thought. Don't forget to smash that like button, hit subscribe, and let's dive into it. Alright, let's start with the juiciest leaks. The set in Hoddesdon, Hertfordshire. This is the one that got fans buzzing because it shows HBO isn't just refilming what we've already seen in the movies. They're actually digging into details the films cut or barely touched. So what did we see? Well, Hoddesdon was completely transformed into a 1981 English town square. Think vintage cars, silver cross baby prams, old-school fashion, and even newspapers announcing Princess Diana's pregnancy. That's the level of detail HBO is going for. And it immediately sets the time period exactly where the books say it should be. Now, Daniel Rigby, who's playing Vernon Dursley, was spotted in full costume, looking exactly how you'd picture him. Stiff suit, big mustache, holding a pastry, and already annoyed at the world. And then comes the moment Potter fans know from the very first chapter. Vernon bumping into a wizard. Yep, we're finally getting the Daedalus Diggle encounter. The leaks show Rigby interacting with John Furlong, who's playing Daedalus, a wizard who's just way too happy celebrating Voldemort's fall. He grabs Vernon's nose, tumbles around, and basically freaks him out in the middle of town. This is that prologue chapter where Muggles start seeing strangely dressed people celebrating the downfall of you-know-who, and Vernon thinks he's losing his mind. What's cool is that these details were missing from the original movie. In the film, we jump straight to Dumbledore, McGonagall, and Hagrid leaving baby Harry at Privet Drive. But in the book, Vernon's day of weird encounters sets the stage, and now we're actually seeing it on screen. That's a major win for fans who always wanted a full, faithful adaptation. And people online noticed. One fan page called the set 100% book accurate. Others were hyping the colorful costumes, saying things like, "I'm obsessed with the purple outfit. Gives me hope that the rest of the wizarding world are going to be as colorful." Another fan said, "Holy crap, that purple costume is amazing." That's so ridiculously book accurate, I love it. This leak was more than just a sneak peek. It's reassurance. Because let's be real, the HBO reboot has had a rocky start. People were skeptical, complaining it was too soon after the films. But these Hoddesdon photos actually got fans on board. The reactions were the most positive since the reboot was announced. And the best part? The set photos tease that the show might even introduce characters skipped in the films. Professor Binns, Charlie Weasley. These names are already in the casting leaks. And starting off with a scene that the films completely left out shows HBO is serious about filling in the gaps. Bottom line, Hoddesdon wasn't just another filming location leak. It was proof HBO is willing to take the time to explore details we never got on screen before. That's exactly what fans wanted. If you're loving these leaks so far, drop a like on the video and subscribe. It really helps out. As if the Hoddesdon leaks weren't enough, we've now got another massive update. And this one involves royalty. Yep, the Hogwarts Express has officially rolled straight into Prince William's backyard. According to reports, HBO bosses have spent a jaw-dropping £4 million building a full-scale railway set in Windsor Great Park, which is basically the Wales family's backyard. We're talking about half a mile of track running through woodland, with a fully built Hogsmeade station sitting there like it just popped out of the books. The delivery itself sounded like something out of a Ministry of Magic mission. Giant lorries were spotted carrying the famous Scarlet locomotive into the park, hidden under a tarpaulin. But even with all the cover-ups, fans could clearly make out the shape of the train. And some sharp-eyed observers even noticed dials and gauges peeking through a gap. An insider described it perfectly. Studio bosses have spared no expense creating the station and track, and moving the Hogwarts Express onto the track has involved organization on a par with a military operation. That makes total sense. This isn't some CGI green screen job. The creative team wanted to capture the magic for real, which is why they chose Windsor's forestry to double as the Scottish Highlands. The idea is to make everything feel authentic, not overly digital like some of the film shots. It also has a royal twist. The tracks are only about a mile from Forest Lodge, where Prince William, Kate, and their kids are set to live. Which means Prince George and Princess Charlotte, who are both huge fans of the books thanks to King Charles reading them at bedtime, could literally have the Hogwarts Express steaming in right near their playground. Imagine growing up with the set of Harry Potter in your backyard. Unreal. And don't worry, apparently the location is far enough away that it won't disturb the royals, but close enough that they could easily nip down to make a flying visit. Now picture Prince William casually dropping by while the cast films Platform 9 3/4 scenes. That would be the most surreal crossover ever. The big takeaway here is that HBO is clearly willing to spend big money to make this reboot stand apart from the movies. £4 million on a set is insane, but it also shows how committed they are to practical effects and building a believable wizarding world. If they're going this far just for the station, imagine what Hogwarts itself is going to look like. This isn't just about fan service. It's about proving that this adaptation is going to feel lived in, detailed, and cinematic in a way the films couldn't always manage. Seeing the Hogwarts Express in the real world again, not as CGI, is exactly the kind of move that wins over skeptics. Okay, moving on to the drama outside the set. Emma Watson and J.K. Rowling. Their relationship has been one of the most talked about parts of Harry Potter fandom in the past few years. And now, it looks like Emma is softening her stance. Quick recap. Back in 2020, Rowling wrote that infamous essay about trans rights and women's spaces, and then doubled down on social media. Emma responded with her own statement saying, "Trans people are who they say they are and deserve to live their lives without being constantly questioned." That basically set her, Daniel Radcliffe, and Rupert Grint apart from Rowling. And it got ugly. Rowling later said she could never forgive Emma and Dan for cozying up to a movement intent on eroding women's hard-won rights. She even admitted their opposition ruins the Potter films for her. Now fast forward to this year. Emma appeared on Jay Shetty's On Purpose podcast and dropped a surprising set of quotes. Here's what she said. "I really don't believe that by having had that experience and holding the love and support and views that I have, mean that I can't and don't treasure Joe and the person that I had personal experiences with. I will never believe that one negates the other and that my experience of that person I don't get to keep and cherish." That's a big turnaround from the tension we've seen for years. Emma basically admitted she still treasures Rowling despite their differences. She even said, "I think it's my deepest wish that I hope people who don't agree with my opinion will love me, and I hope I can keep loving people who I don't necessarily share the same opinion with." And she didn't stop there. She added, "There is just no world in which I could ever cancel her out or cancel that out for anything." That's huge. For someone who was basically the public face of opposition to Rowling, Emma's now talking about reconciliation, or at least respect. Of course, Rowling hasn't exactly changed her stance. She's still very active online, celebrating court rulings that align with her views, even posting pictures puffing cigars on her yacht. She's not backing down. But Emma's words at least opened the door. She even admitted the thing that hurt her most was that a real conversation between them was never made possible. This all comes at the same time as Rowling's direct involvement in the HBO series. She's serving as executive producer, and HBO backed her with a public statement. "We are proud to once again tell the story of Harry Potter, the heartwarming books that speak to the power of friendship, resolve, and acceptance." So, whether you agree with her or not, Rowling is baked into this reboot. And now Emma, Hermione herself, is saying she doesn't want to erase Rowling from her life, even if she disagrees with her. For fans, this is a tricky situation. Some feel Emma is taking the mature route, separating personal experiences from politics. Others think it's a betrayal after years of solidarity with trans fans. But at the very least, It shows that the relationship between the Harry Potter cast and its author isn't as black and white as headlines made it seem. And for HBO, it's honestly good timing. The last thing the reboot needs is a fresh wave of cast versus author drama. Emma taking this softer stance could calm things down and maybe even help unite the fanbase again. Now let's get into the biggest mystery hanging over HBO's Harry Potter series: Voldemort. Who's playing him? How will he even appear? And is HBO really considering showing him in Season 1? First off, the casting drama. Ever since Ralph Fiennes made Voldemort one of the most iconic villains in movie history, fans have been dying to know who'll take on the Dark Lord next. The rumors have been absolutely wild. At one point, people online were saying Cynthia Erivo, Elphaba from Wicked, was in the running. But let's be blunt, there is zero credible evidence for that. It's just classic internet speculation spiraling out of nowhere. What we do know is this: multiple reports say HBO has been auditioning both male and female actors for Voldemort. Now that set off alarm bells for some fans who thought, wait, are they really going for Lady Voldemort? But here's where it gets interesting. A fan theory that popped up online completely flipped the idea into something smart, and honestly, terrifying. Let's rewind to the books. After Godric's Hollow, when the killing curse rebounds, Rowling describes Voldemort as a feeble, powerless shadow of the dark wizard he had once been. He doesn't have a body. He survives by latching onto snakes, animals, and eventually Quirrell. He's basically a parasite clinging to life, barely more than a whisper. So what if HBO uses multiple actors to show that stage of Voldemort's existence? A man here, a woman there, not as a gender swap, but as a way to highlight that he's unstable, bodiless, and horrifying. Imagine random characters suddenly speaking in a cold, chilling voice, then snapping back like nothing happened. Imagine his presence slipping in and out of different hosts. It's not Voldemort changing gender. It's Voldemort being everywhere and nowhere at once. The theory even pointed out examples from other shows. In the Vampire Diaries, big villains like Klaus and Silas were played by multiple actors before their true form was revealed. Fans never knew who they could trust, and it kept the suspense sky high. If HBO pulled something similar, it could make Voldemort feel like a lurking horror rather than just that bald guy we know from the movies. Here's how the fan theory pitched it. Auditioning male and female actors could be less about changing who Voldemort is and more about showing what he has become. A shadow, a parasite, clinging to anyone just to survive until the moment he reveals himself once again. I love that. It doesn't break canon. It deepens it. Because in the books, Voldemort spends a decade like this, hiding, weak, barely surviving. The films glossed over that, giving us a creepy wisp in Sorcerer's Stone and then boom, back to full Dark Lord and Goblet of Fire. HBO has the time to show us just how horrifying it was that Voldemort didn't die. He just lingered. And that would make the big Quirrell reveal so much better. Imagine an entire season of weird glimpses and creepy teases, only to have it all pay off in the Mirror of Erised scene. When the turban comes off and we finally meet the Voldemort who'll dominate the series. That's a goosebumps moment waiting to happen. Of course, not all fans are convinced. Some want HBO to play it straight, cast a new Ralph Fiennes-style Voldemort and just stick to the book beats. Others worry that spreading Voldemort across multiple hosts could feel gimmicky. But if done right, it could be HBO's ace move to build suspense and keep people hooked. And it makes sense with the rumors too. If HBO is auditioning both men and women, it doesn't have to mean they're changing who Voldemort is. It could just mean they need multiple faces for his bodiless form. Then, once they're ready for the real reveal, they lock in one official actor as the Voldemort moving forward. So far, Cillian Murphy has been the fan favorite for the role. And while he denied it, the internet isn't letting that go anytime soon. But HBO is keeping the casting super secret. One report even claimed they've already cast the Dark Lord but won't announce who it is until the first season airs in 2027. which, let's be honest, would be the ultimate hype move. Bottom line, Voldemort is coming. Maybe not in full force right away, but HBO knows they can't ignore him in Season 1, and as one fan theory put it, holding back Voldemort's true reveal until the right moment could give HBO enormous dramatic weight. And yeah, I couldn't agree more. Now let's talk casting, because this is where things get really exciting. Everyone's been focused on the new trio, Dominic McLaughlin as Harry, Arabella Stanton as Hermione, and Alistair Stout as Ron. But HBO has gone way beyond the obvious. The supporting cast is stacked, and some choices are bold. For starters, we've got John Lithgow, 79 years old, stepping in as Albus Dumbledore. Yep, the Emmy-winning star of The Crown and Third Rock from the Sun. A lot of people were surprised, some saying he's too old, others saying he's perfect because he brings gravitas. I think Lithgow has that mix of warmth and authority that could make his Dumbledore stand out from both Richard Harris and Michael Gambon. Then there's Janet McTeer as Minerva McGonagall, another heavyweight actor. And Papa Essiedu as Snape, which stirred some controversy at first. But fans who've seen his work in I May Destroy, you know he's got the intensity to pull it off. And here's a curveball nobody expected. Warwick Davis is officially back as Professor Flitwick. This is the first real crossover from the films. HBO confirmed his return during the annual Back to Hogwarts event, and the fandom lost it. It's a genius move, honestly. It shows continuity while still rebooting the main story. Other notable castings: Nick Frost as Hagrid, and yes, the set leaks showed him towering over Harry in Diagon Alley. Catherine Parkinson as Molly Weasley, Johnny Flynn as Lucius Malfoy, and even Richard Durden as Professor Binns, a character completely left out of the films. That's a big deal, because it proves HBO is not skipping the less flashy details from the books. And let's not forget Charlie Weasley, another fan favorite cut from the movies, will appear in this version. For the first time, he'll be part of Harry's journey from Season 1. So, what does all this tell us? That HBO isn't afraid to spend big, pull in top-tier talent, and take risks. They're not just recasting the old roles, they're reshaping them, bringing in new faces, and even bringing some old faces back. It's a smart balance. Enough nostalgia to keep film fans on board, but enough freshness to make this stand out as its own thing. One of the biggest complaints about the original films was how much they had to cut. Entire plotlines, characters, and moments from the books just never made it to the screen. And while the films are still beloved, book fans have always said, "We want the full story." Well, HBO has been very clear. This series is going to be a faithful, in-depth adaptation. They finally have the time to do it. We're already seeing this in the Hoddesdon leaks. The Daedalus Diggle scene? That was gone in the movies, but now it's front and center. Rowling herself seems pretty happy with it. She said after reading the first 2 scripts, "I read the first 2 episodes of the forthcoming HBO Harry Potter series, and they are so good." Of course, HBO also has to prove they can deliver on that promise. Faithful doesn't just mean longer. It means getting the tone right, balancing the darker themes with the charm of Rowling's world, and not rushing through character development. But with a massive budget, a committed cast, and Rowling involved as an executive producer, it looks like they're serious about making this the definitive version of Harry Potter. Fans have mixed feelings. Some are thrilled, saying this could finally be the true adaptation of the books. Others worry about the reboot fatigue. Why redo something that already worked? But the leaks, casting choices, and Rowling's own enthusiasm are slowly winning people over. The films were lightning in a bottle, but they weren't the books. And now HBO has the chance to give us the complete saga, uncut. So there you have it. The HBO Harry Potter reboot is already making waves before it's even finished filming. We've got Hoddesdon leaks proving they're going back to the books, Emma Watson softening toward J.K. Rowling after years of tension, Voldemort possibly haunting Season 1 in the creepiest way imaginable, a stacked cast with some shocking returns, and a promise of a truly faithful adaptation. And if this is what we're learning now, imagine what else they're keeping under wraps. The real surprises are probably still ahead, and we've got years of speculation to enjoy before the 2027 premiere. But I want to hear from you. Do you think HBO can pull this off? Do you want Voldemort teased through multiple hosts, or should they stick to one actor from the start? And what do you think about Emma's words on Rowling? Is this the beginning of reconciliation, or just her trying to stay above the drama? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this is going to be one of the biggest debates in fandom for years to come. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit like, subscribe for more Harry Potter updates, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss a single leak, theory, or casting rumor. Until next time, peace.